In this video, we will continue our data analytics project to predict what trains will be late using real data. Today, we will focus on the visual elements of the Power BI report and we'll be designing this interactive landing page that looks like a train ticket, as well as this other one that looks like an LED screen and shows what trains are predicted to be late. This is the second part of the series, so if you haven't watched the first video, check the description below so you can see how we got the data. Right now, we will try to make a background that we can use in Power BI that looks like this example of a train ticket. And to do so, we will be relying on this online editor called Photopea. I believe that's the right way to say it. And you can access this for free on any web browser. So you want to go to New Projects and use the default settings. And to build a ticket, we'll simply need to add a bar at the top, a bar at the bottom, and a background in the middle. So it should be straightforward. So using this rectangle tool, just gonna draw the top bar, which I will call top bar here in the layers section. Now we're gonna add a radius on each corner, which you can simply do like this. Okay, and now we just need to choose the right color. So the easiest way is to come back to our sample and use your favorite screenshot tool and bring a copy, a snippet back to the editor. And I'm just gonna call this temp for now, because we just need to extract the color from this, which we can do by selecting the top bar, right-clicking, and coming to blending options. And here in color overlay, we can simply pick the color we need from our example. Alright, so the bottom bar is the same, just flipped vertically. So I will duplicate this by doing Control C, Control V. So as you can see now we have two bars, and I will invert this one by going to Edit and flip vertically. So I shall call this one bottom bar, and with the move tool selected, I will make sure I'll move it to the right position here at the bottom. Alright, so now we can actually go ahead and delete this background, and we will add another rectangle to make the background of the ticket here, making sure it's underneath both of the bars. So I'll bring back our temporary ticket, and what we want now, is to copy that color, the background color. So if we do the same, blending options, color overlay, and we choose from our example, that will be our background. And I will use the text tool to write. There's some text in there, which if you use another ticket, it seems to say National Rail. So that's what we're going to write there. And I will simply copy and paste. So to create a full row with the same text. That should be enough. And I have already used the same technique to choose the color I wanted. So we don't need that anymore. And if we use the move tool again, we can just place the text where we need it. Okay, and now we'll simply duplicate the layer. move it down and offset it slightly. And then we can simply replicate this pattern to fill out the whole background. So I've simply copy and pasted all the text, and if anything goes over the bars, we can simply move it all into a folder. So we'll call that text, and I'll make sure it's underneath both bars, so it will cut automatically. And there we have it. That is the background we will use. And the final step would be to export this. Now, very important to export as an SVG, and that will ensure that the quality remains the same even if you zoom in and out in the Power BI report. So that will be the highest quality you can get. Looks okay. And there we have it. If I open that, it should look like this. Now, to build our LED background, what you want to do is start a new project, and I already have here a blue, dark blue background. Next, we'll want to add circles to the background. So if you use this ellipse tool and you draw a circle 11 by 11 centimeters, you can hold Shift and that will make sure it's proportional. What you can do next is copy this same element, again Control C, Control V, and place it in a grid-like pattern, so right next to it, to the previous one. And if you now copy those two, maybe place them just underneath, and doing the same method, you should fill out the whole screen with this grid. So I'll go ahead and I'll do that now. So I went ahead and copied all those circles, which gets exponentially faster because you have more and more circles from the previous selection. So this should be pretty fast to do. So you'll end up with lots of layers here on the right, so you can simply select them all and convert to smart objects that will consolidate them all. And now, so mean you should have ended up with a grid like this. If you right click the layer and select pixels, what you want to do now is to select the background layer and hit delete on your keyboard. And basically you've taken the selection of the pixels and you've removed every corresponding pixel from where the background is supposed to be. We'll see what that means in a second. And finally, if you untick the circles, you end up with the background, the transparent background that shows where every pixel should go. So the final piece of this jigsaw is to come here to File and Export as PNG. And this will be the image that we're going to bring into Power BI as our background. So I'm now here in Power BI Desktop and I've just created a new tab with a black background and this text we're going to use to demonstrate what the LED background looks like. So I've brought that background LED as an image, a normal image. And if I just make it take the full page and you look at the text, now we're starting to see that behavior we were looking for. So this is exactly what we will be using to build the timetables tab in a second. And now putting it all together to build a landing page, it's a simple matter of importing our ticket image as a background to the page. And every other element you can see here, it's either a simple text box or a slicer. So it's very straightforward to build a page after the background is in place. In terms of the timetables tab, again, very simple elements. Black background on the top and footer are just simple text boxes. Then to display the actual data, the route, departure, arrival, and on time, that's just a normal native table. And we overlay the LED image as demonstrated a second ago. The only additional step required to achieve this look is to add these black shapes you can see here, and that's to separate each row from the next. And finally, the pages are selected with a regular slicer. And in the next video, we'll be seeing what is the trick required to make this paginate the table effectively. So that is it for today. In this video, we just learned how to use two advanced visualization techniques to make our Power BI reports stand out. In the next and final video, we'll just talk about the data model, how this data was loaded, and what trick is required to make a slicer control what's shown on the table. So stay tuned.